We'll be doing things a little bit differently this week on Baseball Biz on Deck. We're actually splitting the show up into two parts. There'll be the normal regular part where Matt and I are talking about what's going on with the Tampa Bay Rays. And then we have a special guest on part two, and that's going to be with Miss Colleen Wright. She is a journalist, a reporter for the Tampa Bay Times, and that's tampabay.com. You can find her there as well. So that will be part two. It's going to be an exciting show with a lot of great information. And so let's get started. Welcome. I'm Mark Carpenter, Jose. With me today is Mr. Matt Germain once again with Here We Are on a Raise Up edition of Baseball Biz on Deck. Hey, Matt, how the heck you doing today, brother?
I'm feeling the 500 heat, Mark.
Oh, gosh. You know, when I first started learning some things about sports and I heard the team was at 500, I thought, ooh, man, that must be good. 500. No, Mark. No, that means 50%. What? Yeah, that means 50%. Oh, I was a slow learner back then. Of course, some things don't change. Anyway. Oh, brother. Yeah, what about that? I mean, aspirations been running high. Last week we were at 25% of the season's gone, and man, it's been an interesting few days. But
yeah, the way that I like to think about it is, the Rays had a makeshift train when they left the station in April or in March, and that train, you know, they had to get off of that train and onto the actual Rays train. And for some reason, they're having a hard time getting that train going. So they need to throw some more coal in that engine and get it rolling so that they can actually get some forward momentum. But it's taking a while to get going, no doubt.
Well, I think we need to get LL Cool J to come out there and just get that train going, brother. You know, you see him just crashing through the walls, and he's got a guy for that, by the way. But I mean, that's. Yeah. We need something happening, brother. So I don't know that train, or maybe it's more like the Harry Potter ones. You can't really find the right train because it's that little special portal to go into Hogwarts.
That's right.
We're not talking Quidditch here, boys and girls. We're going to try to come back to baseball. And Matt, you're the Mr. Scout, and I want to pick your brain for some positivity that's not happening inside Tropicana Field. I'm talking about above and beyond that, Durham, Charlotte, Montgomery, Bowling Green. Tell me something, brother. Share some sunshine.
All right. Well, we'll start with Durham since you started there. Junior Caminero is playing second base and leading off tonight. So there's two trains of thought there. The first is that they're having him lead off, which is, you know, trying to get him the maximum amount of at-bats per game. So sometimes that can happen when they're trying to get somebody, the last little looks before they call them up. So that's encouraging. The other part is the second base, because I think everybody's, you know, in the same frame of mind that somebody's going to have to move if he plays third base. More than likely be Sock Paredes going to first base, but he's not as good a first baseman as Yandy Diaz. So instead of moving everybody around, they're trying to see if Junior Caminero can fit in at second base. It does a couple of things. It also means that Curtis Meade gets more work at third base, which is always good for him. He still has to work on some throws and things like that, but Junior is doing well. And last night they had a new pickup in Durham called Angel Sanchez, and he was 34 years old, threw a gem last night, just 6 innings, 2 hits allowed, a shutout. And really, really, really looked good. I thought it was interesting that he just hops on. He basically stole the start from Shane Baz, who's starting tonight. And that's the other, positive spin is Shane Baz is, at first I was worried that he was hurt because he missed his start last night, but no worries. He's on there today and velocity looks good. So those are 3 intriguing pieces they brought in. I think Angel Sanchez might be because of Jacob Wag, being on a 60-day IL. Maybe they're looking for somebody like him to fill that spot for a bit. And then when we go to Double-A, Chandler Simpson, the Roadrunner, promoted from Bowling Green up to Montgomery. His first game, he gets 3 stolen bases. Welcome to Double-A, Chandler.
gosh.
So he's on pace right now. Like if you were to, so I posted this just the other day. At the time, he had 599 at bats in the minors. He's on pace to basically exceed 130 stolen bases in a season.
Oh, good
If he
gravy.
gets to that. So I mean, you're talking about, a guy that if he doesn't steal a base, you're kind of wondering why he didn't. To that point. And he's hitting ahead of Carson Williams, which everybody knows is one of the hottest bats right now in the minors. And MLB Pipeline, Baseball America, everybody is starting to trumpet him as possibly an even better prospect than Junior Caminero. And that's extremely intriguing. And I think the reasoning behind that is that his defense is no question. So remember when Taylor Walls was coming up, everybody was talking about his 60 or 80 grade D. Well, basically Carson Williams is that, and he has power in his bat and he has speed. So I think they're putting it all together and saying because of the position he plays, that's a premium player. And they're right. Carson Williams this year has elevated his hit tool to the point where now he's going to hit at the MLB level more than likely. It's never a guarantee, and then beyond that, looking at Bowling Green, Owen Wild was just promoted today from Charleston up to Bowling Green, and Owen Wild's a guy that a lot of people are starting to take note of because he's getting just a bit over a K per inning pitched, and he's got some really good control. Everybody seems to like how his composure is on the mound, his command. So I think he's one of those arms to watch. He got a promotion ahead of some other, higher profiled prospects like Santiago Suarez. So that tells you a little bit about how ready the Rays feel he is. And he's only 21 years old. Looking at the standings, Montgomery is in first place in their division. That's in AA. When you're looking over at the A plus level, you also have Bowling Green at first place in their division. So those are the two areas of strength, I would say, for the Rays right now, where they have a glut of really talented teams in A plus and AA. And they also have Junior Caminero and a couple of other interesting guys in AAA. So everything's chugging along really well for the Rays in the minors. And I think, there's one last note that I would make is Braylor Guerrero, which was one of their higher international prospects that they signed recently. He's 17 years old, and 17 years old is a young age usually to bring guys up to the FCL. It's the rookie level league, and they brought him over, and he's lighting it up. Like he's just he looks like he needs to get promoted so that he can be challenged, sort of guy. So that's exciting because the Rays haven't had that really much in low A right now in Charleston. They're having a little bit of a hard time getting runs across. So if he could get promoted to the A level, I think that would help them out a lot. And he's been playing a lot of center field. He has solid speed. So to have that kind of power bat maybe in center field with that plus hit tool, that's really intriguing. So it's an extra note I'll make on that.
Wow, man, I love the positivity oozing out of you about the minor leagues of the Rays, man. This is fantastic. The one challenge I'm having is looking at all these Rays that may be coming back soon. And will there be a place for them? We're talking about Taylor Walls coming back soon. And I just don't know. One, is there going to be a spot for him? I mean, everything that I'm hearing says yes, he's going to be back. He's coming all the way up. He's going to be a Ray again. But we're talking about moving people out. You and I were saying last week, Harold Ramirez and Siri are candidates to not be there. What do you think?
And I think that's still the case. Harold Ramirez hasn't started, he's only started once in his last 5 games, including tonight. So that's an indication that they're starting to have a hard time finding a spot for him in the lineup. And they're paying him a decent amount of money. So I think, the Alexander Bogaerts got injured for San Diego. There's a couple of other injuries around the league where I think the Rays will try to find an opportunity. Right now, they have a lot of off days coming up, so they're able to carry more hitters and less pitchers. So they're making do, and they're trying to find the right deal, I think. and trying to work out who that'll be. Jose Siri's getting a little bit more playing time, but that's, when he's focused, he can play to a really high level. So I'm not as positive that they'll move on from Jose Siri as I am that they'll move on from Harold Ramirez. Just mainly because Ahmed Rosario really stole Harold Ramirez's role. And because he can play right field and left field just as well as Harold can, and he can also do the entire infield. When you have that kind of right-handed bat, on the bench, then what is Harold Ramirez's role? It gets a little bit, minimized is the best way to put it. So if I'm a team out there in the majors and I'm looking at, I'm in a division where my team has to face a lot of left-handed pitching. Ramirez is a really interesting piece to add that probably wouldn't cost very much.
Well, and that's the key with everything with the Rays is trying to find the best deal that they can and still keep a quality product out there on the field. And that ain't always easy, but they seem to do a pretty good job of it. Right now, It just seems like there's been so many people out, Matt. I mean, it's been a challenge.
Yeah, I think sometimes we're not as forgiving on players that are essentially going still through their spring training right now. And Brandon Lau, Josh Lowe, Johnny Aranda, they're getting up to speed. Sometimes guys will quicker than others. But the Rays have also faced a lot of good pitching. The Jays have good pitching, the Yankees have good pitching, the Red Sox have good pitching. It's the AL Beast for a reason. Nothing's been easier given to the Rays. So the fact that they've been 500 through this stretch of AL East, play, is still solid. I think we've been a little bit spoiled in how dominant the Rays have been, in recent years. So we're expecting that level of consistency and dominance. And sometimes you just don't get it. Sometimes you have to wait for things to catch up and click. I'm hoping that happens soon so that the right deals are made and the right personnel put in place. But though, there's a lot of pressure, especially when you have Junior Caminero and other pieces that, are coming back and are going to force your hand pretty soon.
Well, let's go back to something you were saying a moment ago about the pitching in the AL East. And I have to tell you, man, the way the game started out the other night, and you had Taj Bradley and Tanner Houck out there pitching, it was amazing. Those first 3 innings just completely knocked me down. I mean, looking at Taj, man, the first 3 innings, 8 of the 9 batters that came out, he struck out. Bam. There you go. Woof. I mean, that was just amazing. And we always talk about when you see when a batter sees a pitcher for the second or third time, they usually maybe learn a little bit and can change things out. But last night with Bradley, they figured out after the first go round.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it was. I think it was more of the pitch mix and pitch selection needs to be more varied with Taj, and he doesn't need to use his fastball as often as he does. And he needs to start working the curveball in a lot more because, like you're saying, the second time through, there needs to be more deception on that. But stuff wise, even if the fastball is coming, if it's in the right location, I still don't think they would hit it out. So Taj Bradley's only really sore point since he's come up into the league has been giving up home runs. Generally speaking, his stuff in terms of swing and miss is way beyond where David Price, Blake Snell, and Chris Archer were at his age at this point in his career. So you're talking about a guy who, when you're putting him amongst the Rays greats of all time, he's ahead of them in that. So that just tells you about the potential of where he may be headed eventually. He does need to sort out that turning from a thrower to a pitcher. And I think that's where it clicked for Blake Snell, it clicked for David Price, etc., to the point where you start pitching a little bit more smart and not trying to blow the doors off the place when you're pitching. And for Taj, he's still a very young guy and he's coming back from injury on top of it. So he's just happy to be out there healthy and chucking it. So at some point, they're going to have to sit down and kind of work out, okay, where do we need to pitch, and how many pitches can we waste, and which pitches should we be wasting during a count so that we don't have these occurrences of a home run ruining your outing, here and there. So it's a valid point, but I think Taj's ceiling, I'm so excited by it that sometimes I have to kind of stop myself from tweeting out, stuff that could come back to bite me later on. I guess is the best way to put it.
He is exciting to watch. I know you were talking about him a long time ago before he even got up to the Rays. Where he's at now, I mean, the man seems to keep his composure. That's something we said last week. I don't be too much repeating the same thing over and over, but it matters to be able to do that. And I think still has, he was able to come back even after he had some real, I don't want to say failings. He had some real issues for a while in that game, but he still seemed to come back. And I think that's because of his attitude and his composure. So I look still for a lot of great things to come from him. One thing, though, last night, he put a big stop sign up to Rafael Devers. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, Rafi. He's been what? How many? He had 6 games straight with a home run, and then last night that didn't happen for him, and that's Taj is part of the reason why that didn't happen. So he was, I guess, Rafi Devers was pretty much sitting up there in the clouds with the greats from the Boston Red Sox of long before, and was hoping to get that 7th straight game with a home run, but was denied.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the single that Devers hit, but in the at bat, you could tell he was trying to hit one out, and then eventually he settled for the single, just because there was no way he was going to catch up to it to get it out the way that Taj was pitching at the time. But yeah, you tell a lot from a player when they pitch to certain people a certain way. The other thing I'll throw out there too from that start, and I tweeted this: the Rays, I don't know what their scouting plan is for Jarren Duran, but it's wrong. Like he's lighting up the Rays like a Christmas tree. It's insane what he's doing this year. He's got, I think it's 7 extra base hits in less than 40 at bats, and he's just like a 429 average or something like that, and they can barely ever get him out. So when Jarren Duran does damage against Taj Bradley, and part of me goes, is that partially on the scouting that on where they thought they could attack him to get him out? And a lot of times that can be the case, and without us knowing, and it has nothing to do with Taj or his stuff, right? So yeah, I enjoyed the start. I thought it was a lot of fun. I wish it would have gone a little bit cleaner. But I'm really excited about the next time Taj goes up, and I think it's against the Royals on Sunday.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing him again anytime. And, some days are going to be better than others, and that's just the way the game is. And, being a Rays fan, I still find myself kind of partially pulling for Rafi the other night to get one more home run. And if I was a Red Sox fan, I would have been really ticked when the Rays did an intentional walk on Devers and said, just, you're not going to give you this at bat. Just go ahead, just walk on down to first. We're not going to give you a chance to hit it too far.
Yeah.
It's
like the guys who sit down for the last 2 games of the season so they can win the batting title, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a similar kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about folks who did that. You would see some players basically not play so they could keep the title back because it's being measured by the number of games they played. And it's insane. It's insane, brother. Oh, I did want to talk about Tanner Houck for just a little bit too.
Wow.
Was he amazing?
Yeah. There's a lesson there in watching the Red Sox and how Bailey's kind of redone their pitching staff. And they mentioned it on the broadcast last night. The use of the 2-seamer, and that's a pitch that the Rays have gotten away from for some reason. And I think they could look to bring it back for some of the guys that can do well with it, because it's obviously throwing the Rays way off their game. And I think through the league, looking at the Red Sox performances, it seems to be having the same impact everywhere. Sometimes that can be because it went out of fashion for a long time and people aren't used to recognizing it. So it's possible they'll catch up to it again over time. But it's really, 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 really setting their whole staff up at another level from what we saw last year.
It is interesting to see it. I wasn't expecting this much strength from the Red Sox at this point in the year. And let's see, I was reading a little bit more about Tanner. Let's see, an article by Mark Polisuk, I believe, in MLB Trade Rumors. Said the Red Sox have not signed Houck to an extension. He does not qualify for arbitration until this upcoming winter. You would think they'd want to sew him up at a decent rate, but I guess they've got some flexibility. Let's see here. Even in a season marked by impressive pitching around baseball, Houck is stood at as a 1.9 FWAR and is behind only Tarek Skubal as the highest in the league. That's in an article from the Boston Globe, that last part.
Signing pitchers to extensions is such a sketchy thing. You look at the Rays and Shane McClanahan as a perfect example. If they had signed him to a huge extension, 5, 6, 7 years, and he had the Tommy John like he has, then all of a sudden you're left holding the bag with a guy, that's had 2 Tommy Johns now, and you're crossing your fingers that it's not going to happen again. There's a lot of bad contracts that have taken place with pitching because of that. And the way things are going right now, until they figure out how to keep guys healthy for a longer period of time, I think you're going to see minimal amounts of extensions, even when they're pitching really well, like Tanner is.
Well, I'm looking for a little levity. I got to tell you, Matt. And one of the things, by the way, folks, just remind you can find Matt and what he has to say in his wisdom on Twitter at Matt, and that's MAT_Germain, and that's GERMAIN_ on Twitter. Check him out all the time there. But I'm looking for something fun here, Matt. And while you share some great positivity about what the Rays have to offer coming up through the system, I thought, what else is going on? Well, I see there's a Brew Fest coming up. Yeah, Sunday, May 26th. I guess the blue law is not in effect. But yeah. So anyway, let's see. Reads this here real quick to you. Cheers to Brewfest at Tropicana Field on Sunday, May 26th at 1:40 when the Rays take on the Kansas City Royals. Fans can purchase a special Brewfest package that includes a seat in the Mayton X party deck and 6 drink tickets, each good for a 4-ounce pour from regional and local breweries. 4-ounce pour. Gosh, that'll barely touch your tongue. Oh,
that's funny.
Oh, yeah.
The funner the promotions, the better they are, in my opinion. It'll draw out people that may or may not, be interested otherwise. So I love anything they try, and they sometimes it might be a miss, but it's fun to hear.
Now there is a promotion coming up, Matt, and it's not with us; it's with the Yankees, and it's a George Costanza bobblehead.
Yeah. I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, tell folks why George Costanza and the Yankees work together.
Well, he was an employee of the Yankees, of course. So I mean, he basically was what is he? He started there and he started getting George's lunch for a while, George Steinbrenner. And you'd always see on Seinfeld, the camera would be as if you're actually George Steinbrenner looking at George. They never actually show George, and it's awesome because all you see is the reaction to the way George was. And I thought it was awesome. And that's something that only the, Larry David and the Seinfeld group can actually come up with, because it was genius.
Oh, it was, man. I liked the show, but my favorite ones were when Costanza was there at the Yankees, and they had George Steinbrenner. I said, hey, George, can you take care of this for me? Whatever. Go down there and get me something from the deli. Whatever. And to me, that was just hilarious. So, oh gosh, you got to have fun, brother. But
you do.
I might have to get over there for the Brewfest, brother. Let's see.
There's a promotion in Montgomery they're having too, where they're having the Lowe Brothers bobblehead. So both brothers on a bobblehead. So if anybody's around Montgomery, that's a pretty sweet bobblehead. And if you want to ship one over to Nova Scotia, by all means, I can message you my address. And
that's right. Matt's there on Twitter, like we told you a moment ago, x.com Yeah.
That's right. Hmm?
That's a good one, brother. I have to find a way. I'll probably find myself on eBay before too long for that. We're expecting Miss Colleen Wright from the Tampa Bay Times to join us here in a bit. We're going to talk a little bit more about the new Rays Stadium. At least we hope there's a new Rays Stadium. Hope you've been talking to your council people over there in St. Pete and giving them reasons and support about why we should have a new stadium. But we're going to talk with Colleen, and she can kind of give us a breakdown. Thanks for listening to our regular show here on Baseball Biz on Deck. Matt and I both had a great time with you and invite you to listen to part 2 where we have Colleen Wright from the Tampa Bay Times visiting with us, and we're reviewing what's happening with the Tampa Bay Rays and the St. Pete Council on putting together that new stadium over in St. Petersburg. So give it a listen. It's coming right up in the next episode.